I have a simple question. What are your thoughts about military parades? Because if you live or work around Washington, D.C., come June 14th, the streets are going to look something like this to honor Donald Trump. The only difference is going to be the United States military marching through the streets of Washington, D.C. on June 14th. Now, this happens to be Donald Trump's birthday, so he's planning on spending $92 million to honor himself. Now, according to the White House, this also coincides with the U.S. Army's 250th anniversary, but let's be fair about this. Donald Trump tried to throw himself a birthday parade his last term and he failed miserably. So he's going to do it once again this time. But this time he has nobody around him that will tell him no. So if you live in and around Washington, D.C., you can expect a grand military parade with aircraft flying over, tanks rumbling through the streets, and U.S. military personnel marching through the streets of D.C. At least it'll be for a parade and not for some civil war.
A new bill that was just introduced is trying to make Donald Trump's birthday a federal holiday. This U.S. Representative Claudia Tenney has introduced a bill to make Donald Trump's birthday a national holiday here in America. She said that she wants to make June 14th a new federal holiday that would be known as Trump's birthday and Flag Day. She said no modern president has been more pivotal for our country than Donald J. Trump. As both our 45th and 47th president, he is the most consequential president in modern American history, leading our country at a time of great international and domestic turmoil. She said, quote, by designating Trump's birthday and Flag Day as a federal holiday, we can ensure President Trump's contributions to American greatness and the importance of the American flag are forever enshrined into law. So I guess if enough people vote on it, we are going to have Donald Trump's birthday be a federal holiday here in America.
No books, no friends, no music, no curiosity, no patience, no integrity, no compassion, no empathy, no loyalty, no conscience, no courage, no manners, no respect, no character, no morality, no honor, not even a fucking dog.
President of the United States, the commander-in-chief, is telling us as a nation that we cannot afford to give veterans the high-quality health care that they were promised when they signed their name on the dotted line and put their life on the line for us. He's saying we can't afford that. We don't have enough money for that. But we do have enough money to throw a $100 million military parade for his enjoyment. And yeah, I know before any Trump supporter comes into my mentions, I know that Trump is planning on claiming that this parade is in honor of the 250th anniversary of the Army. But that's bullshit. We all know that's bullshit. And the reason we all know that's bullshit is because top Army officials were asked about their plans to celebrate, to commemorate that anniversary. And they did not have any plans for a parade. Trump wanted a parade for his birthday. And so his people went and found an excuse to do so. And this is the same exact parade, by the way, that Trump wanted to throw in 2018 and was stopped by Pentagon officials who made it very clear this is an absurd thing to want to do. The cost of this is astronomical and a huge waste of money. Even back in 2018, it was going to cost $92 million for the Pentagon to arrange all of the military elements of this parade. And then it was going to cost the city of DC $22 million to repair all of the roads, the 4 miles of roads that would be completely torn up by driving tanks down them. And the only reason that he wanted that parade in the first place back in 2018 is because he had visited France when they were commemorating Bastille Day and they had a military parade. He could not stand the thought of another country having a military parade and him not getting one himself. We're going to spend $100 million on the demands of the petulant child that we've put in the White House because he can't stand to see another country have a toy that he doesn't get. But meanwhile, we're going to tell veterans, sorry, if you're feeling like you are moments away from taking your own life and you call the Veteran Crisis Hotline, you might not be able to reach anyone because we fired all those people. Sorry, if you're a veteran that has brain cancer because you were exposed to toxic chemicals in a burn pit in Afghanistan, you may not be able to get all your benefits or navigate the system because we fired all the people that were hired to help veterans navigate benefits as a result of the PACT Act. Sorry, we just don't have enough money as a country to help you, veterans. who are now dying of diseases caused directly because of their service to this nation. We just can't afford to help you. We can't afford to hold up our end of the bargain when you signed your name on that dotted line to put your life on the line for us. We can't hold up our end of the bargain now because we have to put that money towards making sure that the commander-in-chief gets his military parade. I don't know how anyone defends this. Even if you are a Trump supporter, I don't know how you defend this and live with yourself. I don't know how you defend this and then still claim that you support the troops. Because no, you don't. Absolutely not. No, you do not. This is pathetic. This is absolutely pathetic.
Do you remember when Trump's professor from Wharton said he was the dumbest goddamn student I've ever had?
But can you imagine military trucks rolling down Pennsylvania Avenue, these mighty, heavy trucks? That's the concern. Mayor Bowser says these trucks would damage the roadways. She's concerned. She says this is a red flag. And so there are things that still need to be worked out if this is going to be a go. Early plans point to a potential parade route that would start in Arlington near the Pentagon, is going to stretch into D.C., possibly crossing the 14th Street Bridge here onto Pennsylvania Avenue. During his first term, President Trump did push for a similar parade, complete with tanks and military vehicles, but canceled it after the price tag ballooned to an estimated $92 million. This time around, officials say the proposed event would celebrate Flag Day and the Army's 250th anniversary, and could also feature armored vehicles and helicopters, all displayed on the National Mall. But Mayor Bowser says if tanks are part of this plan, the city would need some major federal support.
Military tanks on our streets would not be good. If military tanks were used, they should be accompanied with many millions of dollars to repair the roads.
The White House is saying no military parade has been planned. We'll continue to check in with them to see if they have any more details, because, again, these are more than one sources reporting that this is something that works right now.
This is not Independence Day. It's not Veterans Day. It's certainly not, a wartime victory celebration. It's Trump's birthday. And on that day, not necessarily but on that day, he wants tanks and fighter jets and soldiers marching past in what sounds like something out of North Korea or a bad 20th century flashback to authoritarians around the world. The date he picked, June 14th, happens to also be the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army. Convenient excuse, right? But make no mistake, because everything for Trump is about Donald Trump. Let's talk money. Remember when Donald Trump promised to balance the budget during his first term. Not only did that not happen, but now he is back demanding taxpayer money for what is essentially a vanity project of no real substance. Military parades are very expensive. The last time he tried this, the price tag was estimated at $92 million before it was scrapped. You might wonder, how is it so expensive? It turns out that mobilizing all of this military equipment, including preparing the road surfaces on which the road-based elements will move, as well as gasoline and fuel of different kinds, it's all insanely expensive. And the eventual sort of pared down salute to America back in 2019 cost twice as much as a typical 4th of July celebration. And that didn't even include tanks tearing up the DC streets and the cost to repair those streets. Now, in the background of all this, we have the question about its legality, which I will get to in a moment. But we also have, remember, there were some who said, I think Trump is going to pare down military spending. In conjunction with the request for this parade, we see that Donald Trump is now moving forward on the biggest military budget in American history, not exactly paring down military spending.
The entire world is laughing at the United States right now. They're laughing at us because we have a president who hasn't even been in office 100 days and has somehow managed to completely tank the economy, wipe out over $2 trillion of value from the stock market, and implement policy after policy that is not only destroying us here at home, but destroying our relationships with foreign countries. So again, the rest of the world is laughing. The problem is Donald Trump doesn't get that he is the butt of the joke. And he made himself the butt of the joke last week, as I'm sure everybody has seen by now, on Liberation Day, which is actually huge tax on Consumers Day. When he pulled out his little chart, listed all these countries, and how much they were charging the U.S. in tariffs, and of course, the reciprocal tariffs that he has now put in place. Some of the areas where Donald Trump has put reciprocal tariffs are uninhabited islands, like literally volcanic islands off the coast of Antarctica that don't have any human beings, let alone, obviously, any industry to be able to export goods. But those armies of penguins now have tariffs on them. If they want to send stuff to the United States, by God, it's going to cost us. So I think we're okay on that one. He also put tariffs on the Norwegian island of Svalbard, which is actually part of Norway. However, the tariffs on Svalbard are actually less than what they are on the country of Norway, even though they are the same country. So he flunked basic geography when announcing these tariffs. And again, the entire world laughed at him. But it was more of a nervous laugh, right? Because we still understand that the other tariffs are going to destroy us here at home. But it was kind of funny that this big-ass doofus doesn't understand geography. But the chart showed more than just a lack of understanding of geography. It also showed that Donald Trump will never pass up the opportunity to lie to the American public. Because as I mentioned, not only did you have your list of countries, you had your list of how much in tariffs they were charging the United States, and all of those numbers were also incorrect. All of them were wrong. Overinflated to make it seem like Donald Trump was, of course, protecting us here at home. Here is what happened with those numbers. Let me just read this, because this is the best way to explain it. For example, if China were really imposing a 67% tariff on U.S. goods, or if Vietnam were implementing a 90% tariff on U.S. products, that's something that likely would have been retaliated against a long time ago, but in fact, these numbers do not represent tariffs. Take the EU tariff on U.S. goods of 39%. In 2024, the U.S. exported $370.2 billion to the EU. Meanwhile, the U.S. imported $605.8 billion from the EU. That means the U.S. ran a trade deficit with the EU of $235.6 billion. What the Trump administration seems to have done is taken the deficit and divided it by the total number of imports from the EU, yielding a figure of 39%. Which the administration rounded up, obviously, because it was 38.89. They rounded it to 39 and called it a tariff to the USA, imposed by the EU. But obviously, that's not a tariff. They did the same thing with Norway and China. They took the deficit we had with them, divided it by the total number of goods imported from them, and claimed this is a tariff. But it wasn't. Now, I will say, I have to give full credit to whoever in the administration actually knows how to do math. Like, that kind of shocked me. Because, that's not necessarily the most complicated kind of math, but, it's a little bit more difficult than basic arithmetic, so kudos that there is somebody in the administration who understands math, but unfortunately, you were creating an equation that wasn't relevant to the issue. Trump is destroying us. We have seen it just in the past few days since the tariffs were announced and put in place. The entire world is laughing at us. But again, a little bit of a nervous laugh because they understand how bad this is going to get. Trump is a laughingstock. And we're all paying the price for this horrible joke.
I'm so glad I voted for Donald Trump. Now I have a president who's going to get the economy back on track. Donald Trump's economic policies suck. They just suck. And I know people are going to say, oh, you're just a liberal. I'm really not. His economic policies are just genuinely bad if you actually look at them. And I'll even give you this. His tax ideas are pretty decent. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime pay, no tax on Social Security. Those would all be great things if they were actually implemented. But then you look at the actual budget proposal from Republicans in Congress, and none of those things are included. But when it comes to his economic policies, they seem to revolve around tariffing our friendly neighbors and our allies, and then buddying up with Russia for our steel, which he just put a 25% tariff on. So to me, I'm not really quite sure how Republicans can look at Trump and say that his economic policies are going to help the country. They're not. They might bring back a few jobs in very specific industries that these tariffs affect, but when you actually study tariffs, they tend to destroy jobs on other industries that rely on the tariff industry, and you end up with a net negative. So while some of his tax ideas are decent, and I would love to see them being implemented, when it comes to his economic policies, they're just genuinely bad. And then when you look at his month or two in office and you ask yourself, what has he actually done to improve the economy? The answer is nothing. And I understand it's only been a month or two, and I understand that it takes time, but there's no direction. I mean, besides tariffing our friendly neighbors, there's nothing.
The way Trump is living his wildest dreams. I mean, you have to admit, the man is really living his wildest dreams, having a whole military parade for his birthday, living his wildest dreams. And it's a nightmare for everyone else.
I know what the hell I'm doing. I know what I'm doing.